So Justice for All is just a political committee that was formed specifically for this purpose of removing the judges involved in this egregious case.
So here in Colorado, we don't elect judges, but we do have some type of citizen check and balance. We get to vote on what's known as judge retention. That is, every few years, depending on the level that a Colorado judge is at, how long he's been in office, he goes up for retention. You'll see it on your ballot. Should Judge so-and-so be retained? It's the only check and balance we citizens have over picks that the governor over years has made. Well, very rarely is there a campaign to get people to vote no. Janet Rowland, former county commissioner and perhaps future county commissioner out in Mesa County, has been impassioned about this issue and on one particular judge. Janet, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Now tell me the organization and why you're so passionate about targeting on this one judge.
Right. So Justice for All is just a political committee that was formed specifically for this purpose of removing the judges involved in this egregious case. This is a case that happened in Mesa County, but it involves the Court of Appeals, and that's why everyone in Colorado will have a chance to vote on this particular judge. So the background is the defendant, Michael McFadden, was charged with sexual assault on 6 children, and including being charged with a habitual sex offender. So as they were selecting the jury, a jury questionnaire was drafted by the defense, which referenced the defendant's prior sex assault conviction. After the questionnaire had been distributed to the entire jury pool, the judge in this case noticed the reference to the prior offense and didn't believe that the defendant could get a fair trial. So this meant a new trial date would need to be set to allow time to seat a new jury, which would delay the trial beyond the 6-month speedy trial timeframe. And that is a statutory right we have in Colorado.
Stop there for a second. Stop there for a second. I just want to make sure. So there's this statute that says you get a trial within 6 months. And this accused pedophile, because he, quote, didn't get a fair trial the first time because of one question on a questionnaire about his past, it went longer than 6 months.
Right. It was going to go longer 6 months. He was opposed to rescheduling the trial, even though he'd already waived his right to this speedy trial twice before in the same case. Now, all of a sudden, he doesn't want that. He wants a speedy trial. But the judge, in this case, believed the defendant was partially responsible for the situation because it was the defense that drafted this questionnaire that mentioned his past conviction in the first place. So the judge set a new trial, a new jury was selected. The guy was convicted on 19 counts of sex assault, and he was sentenced to 324 years in prison.
Wow.
You and I know you don't get over 300 years in prison if it's not pretty egregious.
So at this point in the story, this is a convicted pedophile who's going to spend over 3 centuries in jail for his crime against children. This is not a good guy.
Correct.
Keep going.
No, not a good guy at all. He immediately appealed, not because he didn't get a fair trial, which is a constitutional right, but because he didn't get the speedy trial, which is a statutory right. And the Court of Appeals, which included 3 judges, and one of them is Judge Craig Welling, they sided with the pedophile. And what is most egregious is they even acknowledged in their written opinion that prior precedents did exist that allowed them to override the speedy trial to protect the constitutional right of a fair trial. And despite all that, they still sided with the pedophile. So the Attorney General's office then appealed to the Colorado Supreme Court. And I want to quote to you, this is what they cited, the case law to support keeping this guy in prison, that, quote, under certain circumstances, the 6-month speedy trial timeframe will be extended where reasonable delay is necessary to protect other fundamental constitutional rights of the defendant. Now, I'm just a normal person. I am not an attorney, but I can read and comprehend the speedy trial timeframe will be extended to protect other fundamental rights. And even though they had acknowledged that, they still sided with the pedophile. And then the Supreme Court didn't even have the guts to hear the case. They just waived the case. That happened in April of 2018, and so he was let free at that time.
All right, so bring it to this election in fall of 2020. One of those appellate judges is up for his retention. This is a guy who let a convicted pedophile, instead of doing 300 years, well, could have been life, but 300 years out.
Right.
And this is Judge...
Yes, so there were three...
Give us the name one more time.
This is Judge Craig Welling, and he is up for retention this year. There were three judges involved in this appellate case. Judge Jerry Jones, who is not up for retention until 2024, and then Judge Dennis Graham, who has since retired, so thankfully he can do no harm. So the first one we're going after is Judge Craig Welling.
Now, how do you get the message out about this? Because in all my years looking at these judge retentions, they usually win retention by about 60 to 70%, yes, because nobody knows who they are. I know there's a judicial review process in the Blue Book, and they always recommend retention. I'm sure they recommended retention for this guy.
Of course.
Which is a completely useless thing, where you have lawyers who appear in front of these judges deciding whether or not they should be retained in the Blue Book, so they give you this opinion.
Right.
It was really hard to get out this message, and I know you have been a pit bull on this issue and on these judges for this. How do you plan on telling people to vote no on this judge?
Well, the good news is about 30% of people are like my dad, and they vote no on every judge every year, just assuming we need change. So we really only have to influence, maybe 25 to 27% of the voters. The other good thing is that the judges themselves never run a campaign, so it's not like a typical candidate campaign where you have two sides. And that's why it's critical to be on shows like yours so that we can get the word out. It's definitely grassroots. We knew we would never be able to compete financially with the standard marketing campaign in a presidential year. But we believe we can do it with the grassroots. We have a Facebook page. If people do nothing else but go to that page, follow it, and share every time we do a post, that would be huge. They can go to our website and share the video, and then, of course, they can donate.
By the way, let me recommend you put together about a 4 or 5 minute video explaining this case.
Yes.
It is heart-wrenching. It really is. It's worth watching. Give us the details. If people want to learn more, where do they go? If they want to throw you some dollars, where do they do it?
Okay. So our website is justiceforallcolorado.org. They can go to that site. They can watch the video. We intended to make this so that people could take it to service clubs or what other luncheons they might attend and share it with folks. They can email it with folks. They can go to that same website and donate. Every couple of bucks will absolutely help with our social media campaign. They can also go to our Facebook page, which is also Justice for All Colorado, and follow us and just share everything we post. We really need to get the message out to the Front Range, because folks in Mesa County have been hearing about this for a couple of years, but the folks on your side of the mountain really need to know.
Janet, I wish you the best of luck on this. It's a Herculean task, and I'm glad you're so passionate about it. Best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed that conversation, by all means, click one of these other great programs. We have the best conversations with the most fascinating Coloradans. And subscribe to our channel. Just click down below and hit that little bell button too. You don't want to miss a single show.